Coming up on Network Africa, Human Rights Watch says at least 13 people killed after security forces in Chad violently dispersed thousands of protesters. Tanzanian citizens arrived in Moscow from Ukraine after agreement with Russia. Plus, Tunisian president prepares to rewrite the nation's constitution, calling for citizens' input. Hello and welcome to the program at this time. I'm Layo Adegoke here in Lagos. Campaign group Human Rights Watch says security forces in Chad killed at least 13 people and injured more than 80 others as they violently dispersed thousands of protesters in the east of the country. January's demonstration in the town of Abeche, it was against plans to appoint a new traditional chief. The rights group says some of the soldiers who indiscriminately opened fire were members of the Chadian army, while others were part of a joint force comprising troops from Sudan and Chad. It says they used tear gas, assault rifles and machine guns against the protesters. The government minister said he regrets the deaths but has denied that security forces had used live ammunition. Some 11 Tanzanian students who were stranded in the Ukrainian city of Sumy have arrived in Russia's capital, Moscow. According to Tanzania's foreign ministry, they were received by the Tanzanian ambassador to Russia, Frederick Kibuta. Last week, Tanzania announced its agreement with Russia to allow for the safe passage of its students stranded in Sumy, that's a city in northeastern Ukraine. The students were urged to head to Sudzha, where Russian troops would allow them to leave the country safely, according to a statement from Tanzania's embassy in Moscow. Well, the total number of students stranded in Sumy was not stated, but they were asked to carry the Tanzanian flag for identification just in case they encountered troops. While the Ukrainian forces have been putting up a defense against Russian advance on the country, some Nigerians have been very concerned about the welfare of Nigerians stranded in cities in Ukraine. That's as a result of the fighting. Well, Janine Anthony is a sportscaster in the UK who is well on her way to becoming a medical doctor. Rather than sit back and watch news about Nigerians stranded, especially in Sumy, she did something about it. She started a movement on social media platforms, raising funds to send to Nigerians stuck in Ukraine to help with food and supplies for transportation. Well, she has been doing this with the support of other Nigerians and Africans from around the world. Well, she joins me now alongside Emmanuel Okaba, who joins me from Abuja. Janine, Emmanuel, thank you for joining me on the program.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, I can't tell your story better than you two. What stirred your interest in this project? Let's start with you, Janine.
Firstly, humanity comes first. And as a Nigerian, you have to represent wherever you are, even in a case of war. I'm a sports broadcaster, so normally my job is to basically talk about what's the trending sports news. But then again, I'm very active on social media to have seen reports about African Black students and people trying to evacuate and flee from the war in Ukraine, and them not having access to public transportation, them not having access to basically stronger anti-Black sentiments. And being drawn to that, it meant that people jumped on Twitter spaces to talk about this, the news. And as a broadcaster and, having done this and having connections. It was like, okay, how can we verify this to bring the mainstream, bring the world aware of this? And on those Twitter spaces, that's how we kept talking about it. And that's where a movement was formed, where we just said to ourselves, you know what? No one's going to protect our people more than us. Let's come together. Let's band together. Let's get funds. Let's raise funds. Let's send to these kids and these people to get the public transportation and stop the racist treatment that some of these people were going through. And so far, we've been doing both at the same time, and it's had its ups and its downs, but I would never have done anything more than just helping my people.
And that's great work, Janine. But Emmanuel, is this the same for you? What, inspired your interest in this project?
I can't say it's exactly the same. I went on that space on that day they started just to get help for a friend's daughter who was in need, and I kept on requesting for that help. At times, I was directed to create a Telegram group since a number of persons were already getting in touch for that particular city, to just create a Telegram group to invite those whom I think were in the same city. And in less than 30 minutes, I noticed there were over 50. And the help I was seeking, I couldn't get it. So at a point, I needed to become the helper. That was how I got involved in the project. Everybody had their hands full, so I had to, in one way or the other, try to organize those who were trapped in that city, from organizing, booking taxis for them, getting them to the train station, ensuring they moved from one city to the other, their arrival. And before I would realize, I was already drawn into the project. I was helping people from other cities, and it became like a movement. All of a sudden, we connected, we started having meetings, we organized ourselves, and since then, we've not looked back.
All right. So how many people are in on this beyond you two?
We are hundreds. In fact, every day there is a call to volunteering action. We have forms, we've created websites, we've created GoFundMe links, Cash App, name it. There were hundreds of volunteers across, and it's not just Manuel does logistics and transportation. I do media relations. It's interwoven. You've got strategy, you've got crisis response, you've got mental health awareness, you've got doctors at the borders waiting for the people who've got medical attention. We've got people who are on the ground to help, give food or clothing. We've got Emmanuel and the likes who help with maps. You've got pastors who are praying for people. You've got mental health support. Just about every single thing you can see in a working organization. That's what we've created. So it's hundreds of volunteers, and it's not just Nigerians, a lot of people across the world. It's a global movement, but it's been picked by the interest that Africans came together, visibly Nigerians coming together, because there's volunteer groups. We represent Black foreigners in Ukraine. There's also Diaspora Relief. There's also Black Women for Black Lives, spearheaded by actual students who were documenting how they were crossing. So it's been different volunteering groups getting to different parts of Ukraine, and we are hundreds. And at this point in time, it's just been a great job from everybody. We've had sleepless nights, just helping everybody that we can. And I normally have words, but I really have no words when I think about all the effort that we've put together to help this kid. There are minors, 16, 15-year-olds who can't read a map, who can't open a crypto wallet to help get money, because sometimes you need crypto to even function. So we have to teach them on our phone, this is how to open a wallet to help you so that you can pay for certain things. So we're in our hundreds. There's no specific number.
And there's this support, there's the support for these Nigerians, and because the goal now is to, get their safe return back to the country, will this support be ending when they eventually return?
It's not going to end. The thing is, a greater percentage of the people who've been able to help leave Ukraine are students. And currently we are in negotiations with universities in Hungary, Poland, Romania, Germany, UK, and even US to see how they can take most of these displaced students into their academic programs in their universities for them to continue their education and not have it disrupted by the crisis in Ukraine. So we believe most of them are not even coming back to the country if they can continue their education in other countries in Europe and the Americas.
Yeah, continuing their education, for a brighter future. So to you both and, the hundreds of others who have made contributions to the unseen heroes in this, big, huge conflict, do you see yourselves in that light?
Uh, I don't know if that's too. I think it's too much a name to bear. I'm not a hero until one single Black person who's fleeing from this is somewhere safe. The work continues, but I would probably call Emmanuel a hero. I'm sure he'd just go back and forth with me on that because
I'm not a hero. I'm just someone who rose to the occasion.
That's exactly what happens. We are not, because we are not ready to get the plaudits or anything until at least these kids and these people can leave. So I wouldn't say we're heroes. We're just patriotic Nigerians and Africans that are putting our countries first and being selfless as we go.
All right, then, Janine, Anthony, and Emmanuel Okabaka, thank you so much. Thank you for your work. And, we do hope these people are in safety, are in safe hands eventually when all of this is over. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Well, we're still on the stories coming out from the Russian-Ukraine invasion, but here in Africa, it's Egypt's presidency saying that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, have spoken about the latest developments in Ukraine. The two leaders are said to have also discussed strengthening ties between their nations through joint development projects. Russia is currently facing a wave of sanctions from Western nations over its invasion of Ukraine. Another African president who's spoken to President Vladimir Putin is Senegal's President Macky Sall, who is the current head of the African Union. He's spoken to President Putin, urging a lasting ceasefire in Ukraine. He's the second African leader to reveal that he has spoken to Mr. Putin. Well, only a handful of African countries have, come out to criticize Russia's actions in Ukraine. After Russian troops entered Ukraine on the 24th of February, the AU issued a statement calling for Ukraine's territorial integrity to be respected and for international law to be upheld. The West African Regional Bloc ECOWAS also said it condemned the invasion. Well, as the world continues to battle the outcomes of tensions between Russia and Ukraine, and as that affects global supply of energy, the Secretary General of OPEC, Malam Mohamed Barkindo, has called on global leaders, investors, and heads of governments not to politicize energy. The OPEC XG, while speaking exclusively to Channels Television on the sidelines of the ongoing energy conference in Houston, Texas, he says the demand for oil and the challenge of the shortfall in supplies could be further exacerbated if political solutions are not quickly put in place.
We are already facing real obstacles to access investment capital in this industry, especially in our own part of the world. We should not further complicate the situation. It is not in the interest of anyone to politicize energy. It is not in the interest of anyone to worsen the energy poverty profile of the world. Nearly 800 million people have no access to electricity, most in our own part of the world. Nearly 2.8 billion people have no access to clean cooking fuels, more than 80% in our own part of the world. Because of massive underinvestments in the industry over the years, we are still battling how to overcome this challenge of our time. Yes, we are impacted by climate change, probably more than any other region in the world, and we see climate and sustainable development, in particular energy poverty, as two sides of the same coin. You cannot address one to the exclusion of the other. And we have been in the forefront of this advocacy.
Still ahead on the program. South Africa's Mentor Rings celebrates women in the country, experienced women entrepreneurs helping the young ones. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. 3 months after President Muhammadu Buhari led a high-powered delegation to meet UAE-based investors, 3 other ministers of the Federation have returned to Dubai for further engagements. Organized by the Nigerian-Arabian Gulf Chamber of Commerce, the second edition of the Nigerian Trade Investment Forum at the Expo 2020 brought together more investors looking to do business in Nigeria. Our correspondent Mayowa Adegoke has more on this forum.
Top representatives from Nigeria's Ministries of Power, Water Resources and the Federal Capital Territory are here at the second edition of the Nigerian Trade and Investment Forum to attract much-needed investments to several projects.
Hydropower, we have a potential about 12,000 megawatts. Roughly about 20% of that is being exploited today. So there's still a huge amount of potential. We just have Kainji, Jeba, Shiroro, and then some other smaller projects.
Mass transportation systems, agriculture, health, and other social infrastructure are highlighted by the Minister of the FCT.
By Nigerian standards, the household income in Abuja is higher than the national average, basically because it's an administrative city initially, where the diplomats are, the government people, and now is gradually also developing into a commercial city, a technology hub, especially for startups and ICT-based businesses, and also a tourist destination.
However, top on the minds of investors is the elephant in the room, the power situation, which the Minister of State for Power, Godi Agba, harps on in his presentation.
Lack of power has also resulted in annual economic losses estimated at $26.2 billion, which is equivalent to about 2% of GDP, as reported in the World Bank report recently.
As a sign of interest in investing in Nigeria's power sector, Sampro signs an MOU with organizers of the event, the Nigerian-Arabian Gulf Chamber of Commerce. Music star D'banj gives impromptu entertainment and makes a case for Nigerian creatives.
We come here, we do concerts, but we don't know that there's a chamber that we're beyond concert. You can now take that to the next level.
The conversation continues with panel discussions and B2B meetings.
Like I said, a lot of them are in line, but as time goes on, we'll come with them one after the other to Nigeria to make sure that we benefit out of the benefit of this Expo 2020 is there for Nigerians.
Well, after all is said and done, Nigeria has just about 20 days left to convince investors that it is the investment destination of choice in the whole of Africa. From Expo 2020 Dubai, Mayowa Adegoke for Channels Television News.
Police in Kenya have said the suspected ringleader of a sexual assault incident on a female motorist is on the run. They have positively identified the suspect as one Zachariah Obadiah. The police said he escaped from arrest through a sewer duct at an informal settlement where he lives in the capital, Nairobi. Investigators say digital forensic experts had identified the suspect in a video, and further investigations placed him at the scene. President Uhuru Kenyatta ordered the authorities to re-register all motorbike taxi operators after the assault incident. Police have arrested dozens of operators who were said to have been involved, and hundreds others were arrested in a crackdown over non-compliance. As Tunisia's president prepares to rewrite the constitution, that's after dismissing parliament last year and ruling by decree, he has called for citizens' input by setting up a voluntary multi-choice questionnaire online. Now, with 2 weeks to go before the survey is due to end, only 276,000 people have taken part in the country of 12 million. That's according to the survey website, amid accusations by President Kais Said's critics that the consultation is a charade. After his move against the elected parliament last summer, the 64-year-old announced in December he would appoint a committee to rewrite the constitution with input from the people and put it into a referendum in June. He says his intervention was a response to a decade of political and economic stagnation at the hands of a corrupt, self-serving elite. With many people struggling to make a living in Madagascar's southern region of Androy, a group of women is managing to create paid work for themselves. The Malagasy women have now stepped up from packing lunches to food processing. Take a look.
In making a living for themselves, women in Madagascar's southern region of Androy try to sell charcoal or cactus fruits in streets of Ambovombe. Starting out with a modest aim of making packed lunches for pupils at a school, a local women's group has morphed into a commercial enterprise and a new tool in the struggle against food insecurity. Branching out from the original activity, the women now grow vegetables, make soap, jam and mats for sale, and even process cassava into gari, stiff porridge, a form that allows it to keep for 3 years a nutritional safety net. Fideline Volienombi, a single mother of 5, used to eke out a living by washing other people's laundry, but could afford to send only 2 of her children to school. Since joining the Merihina, which is the Together group, she has acquired new skills and is earning more money.
So my life is evolving at the moment because now my 5 children go to school. I learned artisanal skills and I can send all my children to school. I know how to make mats. We don't need to depend on a man. We are independent.
With the help of volunteer organizers like Vola Tiandraza, the group sourced training and materials to produce jam from cactuses that grow wild in the area, artisanal soap, and mats. Madagascar produces large amounts of cassava, a root vegetable which can be kept for about 3 months. But the women of Merihina have acquired skills and machines to process it into gari, a staple produced in West Africa, which has a much longer shelf life.
Et nous pouvons faire la transformation et stocker pendant 3 années.
We can process cassava and keep it for 3 years. The idea is to have reserves at home and food available to feed the children if there is perhaps a bad weather or in case of another food crisis. That's the idea behind the processing of cassava into gari. Furthermore, we want to make women more independent through their revenue-making activities so they can send their children to school.
Empowering women to be financially independent is also a big motivation. Volienombi says she is more than ready to teach people how to make gari for free if it can help the community.
I guess it won't hurt to celebrate women for just one more day. In South Africa, more experienced women entrepreneurs have spent the day up close with less experienced ones in the event organizers called Mentor Rings. The event was one of many to mark the International Women's Day, and the goal is to project the idea of the old and established mentoring the young and upcoming.
I just stand in awe, and today for me it's just an absolute honor to be called woman.
The room was filled with accomplished women, old and young, as well as a handful of supportive men. They paid respects to long gone as well as present accomplished women. Speaker after speaker touched on the importance of fearlessness in pursuit of aspirations, commitment to community development, volunteering, and especially mentoring of other women.
My husband likes to do this. He says, put your hands like this, let someone's foot be there, and lift them up. And then you let go. Then you take your hands away. They are climbing. And let someone stand on your shoulders. All these women, I offer my shoulders, and I know all these women who spoke, they are offering their shoulders. stand on our shoulders, but then you must step up.
I keep on telling people I have an MD and a PhD. My PhD is Doctor of Philosophy, but a PhD could also be pull her down. We do not want to pull women down. We want to bring them up. That's my message. Let's be mentors to young women so that they can occupy the spaces that we occupy now. When we are gone, we would have left a legacy.
As part of the push towards mentoring, the event broke into what was called mentorings, where older and upcoming entrepreneurs sat up close to ask and answer questions and share experiences. We asked some of the event attendees what stood out for them and their message to the world on the International Women's Day.
We are not prisoners of our past, but we are actually architects of our future, and we have to really think of investing and shaping our own future. And I think that's what we've been learning and hearing today of the inspirational woman.
It was great. I enjoyed every moment of it. I enjoyed being with people who are successful in life and in business. So I am hoping that one day I will also be one of them. Actually, I felt like I was one of them at that time.
I say, woman, you are the mother of the nation. You are very strong. You are capable. So whatever you put in your mind, so you should not be prevented, I can say, with your ideas that you want to implement to the world.
Whether it's in your household, whether it's your own daughter, your girl child, or the community girls, let's sort of bring them all together and make sure that they are successful business people, successful mothers and successful daughters to their families.
They also spread a thought for women and children in conflict zones around the world today.
Every woman who is in a conflict area, we are saying that you will be supported and that you need to give yourselves to understand that it is not the end of the world and that there are people out there who are thinking of you and praying for you. You matter.
The theme for this year's International Women's Day is Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow, and the hashtag is Break the Bias. The hope is for the theme to go beyond being just one year's theme to a lifelong reality. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
That's it on the program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Adibuki.